Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for taking time to learn about how to write a standout resume in 2025. We're excited that you're here. Today is going to be a fun educational experience. Luckily, you have myself, as well as someone a little bit more trusted, I will joke, Camille here to guide us through great information, both from the basics, talking as important of what to put on a resume today, from qualifications to the education experience, all that fun stuff, the do's and don'ts as well. But also really focus on, as we say, 2025, what we have to do that is behind the scenes, beating the robot, so to speak, in order to get our resumes actually to be seen by a human at the end of that job board, that link that you might be going through. The best part about this, as we have a pretty big audience for our live members here, is that there will be a Q&A at the end. We encourage everyone to, as we go through, type in the questions so you just get them out and you don't forget about them. We'll do and address them at the end, as we'll finish up today. But let us dive deep and begin. First, I'm going to pass it off to my co-presenter here, Camille.
Thank you, Frank. So excited to be here and to present on this really important topic of resumes. So many different types to learn about, and so we'll be talking about a few of them with you today. But just as an introduction, my name is Camille Dumont. I am the Associate Director for Career Readiness at Excelsior University. I have a good amount of experience in higher ed and particularly in career services. I'm very proud of some of the certificates that I have earned that kind of justify my helping you in preparation for everything workforce ready. These are earned through the National Career Development Association. I am a certified career services provider and certified master of career services. And so this helps to reinforce my commitment to excellence in career development. I do live in Connecticut, although I am a native New Yorker, originally from the Bronx, proud Yankee fan, and the mom of three.
That's amazing. It's a great transition too. Camille and I did not plan this, but I too am a native New Yorker now residing in New Jersey. I actually went to a school in New York as well, SUNY Plattsburgh, but I too was raised in the Bronx, which is a really fun fact there. But formally, I'm Frank Siano, the Director of Academic Success. Just a fancy title for I am the liaison here of the resource and the great editors and other career coaches behind the scenes here at Vault, who also partner with Camille and so many other colleges and universities across the country to help and provide great solutions, as we'll talk about later, but also some great workshops as we're discussing here. Now, I don't have the NCDA, the certificates as Camille does, as I referenced earlier. She's the trusted source, right? But what I do have is, as I mentioned on the slide, very passion for this space. I was a law student many moons ago, and luckily used career services to help guide me. It was the first conversation of actually how to write a resume, and then went to what should I wear at the career fair, how to engage on a networking platform that just started at the time, like LinkedIn, right? Just to date myself. We both have a passion, right? We both have experience, and hopefully today, as we go through, that there's some great information that gets into your hands. And we will be sending afterwards this information. We'll be referencing things like templates of resumes, which will be provided right within the chat and email afterwards. So keep a lookout for that too. But Camille has shown background, right? I'm representing Vault. The question is, well, what is Vault? Well, in the lower corner of the screen, you're noticing a little URL here. That's your branded portal. We'll talk about how to get into Vault and all these great tools as well at your disposal later on in the presentation. But, keep it aside, play around, as we get to that section. But Vault, and ironically, one of the tools that I was asked to use or told, instructed to use by Career Services moons ago, was Vault content. It was in printed form back then. Again, another dating of myself. But the content and how, as we'll see moving forward on the ecosystem, has always remained the same. And the passion and the mission of the organization, those editors, those career service professionals, myself, is to provide great career intelligence, as we call it. Now, there's a lot of sources, and there is no end all be all one, right? We are not that source that you should just spend hours upon hours, because luckily there's a lot of more sources today. Camille and I, right, when we were going through our job hunting in our heyday, and still today, right? But really it was focused on traditional of, I need great resume on card stock, right? Because I'm going to be physically handing this to someone. Those times, even though we will do that when we get an in-person interview afterwards, we rely digitally today, and we rely digitally has expanded, as we know, the ed tech market. But Vault's play, and why the university is subscribing to our system, right, and having us speak to, is because they believe in the verification process as well. And that process, dating back to 1996, and I love this story, is that the founders of this organization, they were cocky. They came from a great school, but they weren't getting hired because they didn't do their due diligence, right? They didn't attend workshops on how to make their resume. They thought they didn't need one because they were just going to be recruited. That's not the case, never has been. The ecosystem here is that let's talk to the experts, get that firsthand knowledge, right? Let's get all that content and distribute it in means that schools can make it easy, as we'll see, for their students, their alumni to use. And then hopefully that when one day you're, sitting at this role that you applied for, found great success, and you get a link that says, hey, give back, take a feedback on this role that you're doing, this company, you remember Vault, and so we could be around for another 25 years. Okay. So now we're going to go into the meat of the presentation, right? But where we're going to start, and I'm going to pass it back over to Camille, it's really, of course, the basics, the 101. So Camille, over to you.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Frank. So I just want to emphasize that, a really strong resume is your first impression to potential employers. It's what gets you noticed above and beyond your competition and sets you apart from other candidates. So really you want to craft a really well done resume with by effectively highlighting your skills, experience, accomplishments. This will help you to increase your chances of landing that coveted interview to help you advance in your career. So with that being said, let's take a look at the different parts of a resume. So let's talk about the content, the contact information. That's what you see that appears on the top of the page, and you should have a strong heading. But what's happening now is we are now finding that employers don't necessarily need to see your home address or even your town or state where you live. What's most important is obviously your full name. And we can talk about formatting and things in another webinar, perhaps. But for the sake of this, it's important to have your name on top with your phone number, obviously, where you can be reached. A professional email. What do I mean by that? So you don't want something that seems inappropriate, but more of a simple email like, jjones@gmail.com. And then, of course, if you have a LinkedIn profile, it would be great to include that link. Don't put the LinkedIn link if you're not certain if your profile is in good order. And that is something that I can help you with. But if you're confident with your LinkedIn profile, go with your contact information. Objective statement, also known as a summary. I like to say that it is essentially the written form of your elevator pitch. So the elevator pitch is that the idea that you're on an elevator with somebody, you have about 30 seconds to introduce yourself, and you want to get across all of the important things so that the person can understand who you are and what you have to offer. So in this case, the objective statement or the summary on your resume is the written format of your elevator pitch. What does it do? It focuses on you, on who you are, what you bring, and how you add value, rather than stating your career goals. So it's almost like you're selling yourself and what you can do for the company. And in there, you want to use some keywords and distinctive terms that you see in the job description, but ensure that what you're saying about yourself is validated in your experience. You never want to use terms where you don't necessarily have the experience. And the education section is very important. You want to put the most recent first, similar to your work experience, and include there your degree, the school, your graduation year, if you're a recent grad, and again, to put it in order. So if you're an MBA student, that would go first, and then below that would be your bachelor's. Work experience, you want to do bullets. And I'll give you a little tip that I find is probably one of the biggest errors that I see. No need for periods at the end of the bullet statements. They're not complete sentences. And so remove those periods at the end of your bullets. But in your bullets, you want to include your achievements. So action verbs, quantifiable results. What does this mean? You want to use action verbs as an example. Say you use the word leadership. Here's an example. It's not the most effective. Led a team of software engineers and completed numerous projects. Okay. Here's a good example of leadership. Managed a team of 8 software engineers and spearheaded numerous projects. So you can see there that we're starting to use numbers now. A really great example, if you're going to talk about leadership, is managed a team of 8 software engineers and spearheaded numerous projects, including the creation of a highly desirable prediction model that resulted in 30% growth in customer volume. Do you see how there's a difference there? So highly encourage quantifiable results. Very important. It really shows, the saying is, remember, show, don't tell. So you're showing the experience. The skills section, hard skills, so those that are particular to that field or occupation, and soft skills. So again, we talked about the leadership, the communication. Tailor it to the job description. Make sure that you're using those that are at the top of the list of what they're looking for in that job description. But again, make sure that you're validating that you do actually have that experience. And then if you have any kind of certifications or even volunteer work, projects, coursework that might be relevant to the role, certainly go ahead and include those in the qualifications portion.
Sorry that you saw some templates go back and forth as Camille was speaking. We're going to be sending over the file as Camille was talking about, so you could all have this amazing template to use going forward.
Yes, and I believe you're talking about the template resume is a great tool for students to help them get started, at least with maybe you don't have a resume or maybe you want to improve yours and you're not sure how. And the template really does help to really help you in detail understand each of the sections of the resume and kind of plug in your information and make it appropriate to you and to the particular job that you are applying for. And probably that is one of the most important things, is that you really want to make your resume specific to every job that you're applying for. If you're applying for things in the same occupation, you might find that there's a lot of similarities, but still you might have to make some little edits or tweaks to make it appropriate for that particular job. You really want to show a vested interest in that particular organization that you're applying to. And I think that the employer can see that level of detail and would appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that template is amazing. I wish I had the ability to do that when I was in school. So it's really great to have that, available to you. As we move forward on the do's and don'ts, funny, great transition as we talked about tailoring to each job you apply for. That really does relate, as we'll go a little bit later, into some of the ways to trick the robots, and we'll see about that a little bit later. But there's also some things that, other than the don'ts, right? First, focus on the do's. Is that document, right? It's a page long. Unless you have years of work experience, and Camille and I also ours aren't 2, 3 pages long with 20, 10 plus years of work, is that those bullet points, as Camille referenced, one bullet point said four things in one, right? By able to be actionable, to give statistics and other things. And the when we switch over to the don'ts, I think today's day and age, everyone is trying to stand out from the rest, and we understand that, right? And that's one way you do the do's and you tailor it. That's a great way of doing so, but we often share too much. So take back, right? And that goes as simple as, if you don't have an effective LinkedIn profile, no need to share it, right? If you feel that you're going to be discriminated by the actual street that you live on, right? Just say Albany, right? I remember when I applied, just because I was afraid of Big Brother, I would always put like the mall down the street. That probably didn't do best for me, but you don't have to disclose so much. And we see a lot of templates. There are sites like Canva, and you probably seeing on social media that people are making their resumes very fancy. The one that we just showed and then we'll share is definitely not, right? There doesn't have any colors listed in it. There is no photo of myself, right? That's why we hyperlink to our LinkedIn account, where you could go ahead and see my beautiful smile if you wanted to. Less is more, keep it boring. Tough today's age, because we're always trying to stand out and use all the settings and features that these things apply. We also don't want to show that we haven't read and stayed up with the times of what articles are needed today, right? Yes, you're everyone noticing the template successfully made it through to the chat here. What you want to avoid is references on request. Yes, we all know that, right? This will be something that you will always get to the stage if you make it there, right? But you're not going to make it there if you don't make sure that you are not having spelling mistakes, grammar mistakes. That's as simple as not only being rejected by, as we'll go forward, these automated tracking systems, ATSs, but also if it did pass through, which it wouldn't, you're then going to just come off in a bad prisoner the first time someone is seeing, as you get around 6 or 7 seconds of a quick glance from a user when they actually get to look at your resume. They see a spelling mistake or grammar mistake, they're off to the next. All right, let's move forward. Here's some of my favorite slides as we'll go to, and then we're going to actually jump into some of these resources that help from a tech standpoint beat these bots, right? Well, it's 2025, and we need to make these resumes ATS friendly. ATS stands for Applicant Tracking System. People assume that these applicant tracking systems came out when ChatGPT came out. That is not true. Applicant tracking systems have been around for years. They just never got their credit. AI has helped them expand, right? They get a bad rap because, from the recruiter standpoint, oh, you're putting up barriers to get people to see my resume. But imagine if you were running a business, would you want to sit there and waste hours looking at resumes that had spelling mistakes or weren't customized, that someone made a mistake and attached the wrong one? No. But however, because we could add more settings, they have made it a little bit more restrictive for you to get through, and they've been very popular, right? They started off these ATSs at only the big Fortune 500 companies, right? CVS, Kroger, a Price Chopper could afford them, right? Well, smaller boutiques, Vault's been around for 25 years, but we don't have 25,000 employees, right? We're a lean, mean fighting team, always have been. We're a boutique, right? But we use ATSs because, as I'll show you in a couple slides later, and yeah, there's a lot of good information that could come from it, such as finding the great candidate. But ATS is, like I said, been around for years. Fun fact, where I reside in New Jersey right now, one of the first ATS providers, iSIMS, was created years ago, is in my backyard. So maybe that's why Camille wanted me to join her today. No, I'm just kidding. Things that we want to point out, as we said, 6 seconds to view, right? So that's why they came about. And they're more important today, I feel, because of the advancements within recruiting, right? So this started when you traditionally worked in an office, right? We are not seeing that with a lot of roles today, unless you're hands-on. If you're going into, being a pharmacist, you can't do that over Zoom, right? It's kind of hard, but there's so many other roles that require a hybrid environment, right? And because of these virtual recruiting, because of mass hiring now, right? The ability to, if you go with those familiar, say on LinkedIn, easy apply, where you could just sit there and apply to thousands of jobs a day if your fingers were able to do so, and then had no success because of these ATS, right? It really has came out to make sure that we're just getting the right candidate, but it makes it tougher. It makes it sometimes less attractive to you apply for that job. As I know we're virtual, with show of hands, have you ever applied for a job where you submit your resume and then they tell you to import all the fields? They do so, that's an ATS feature, to see if you're committed, right? Are you such committed to just go spend an extra minute? The drop off rate, if you would see, is insane, right? So we're going to take a look, right? But I wanted to show here the quick process just so you can envision how these systems work. Jobs are created, they're being posted, and then they're being distributed, right? Because there's a lot of different job boards out there. There's, ones that we all know of, Indeeds, and then there's ones that are specific to schools and ones that are specific to industries that are always sprayed out there because through SSO and it's social media. We want these through LinkedIn has their own board, right? All these jobs candidates apply, and then you never know, right? Always hate when you apply for that job and you're like, well, wouldn't it have been nice if they sent me like, hey, sorry, you were rejected? They're not going to even send you that, right? Because they didn't click that as a filter on their ATS. The ways that we do, and Camille, why we started with the basis is because as simple as keeping it in the same settings, the same font sizes, right? Not having periods at the end to things like rejecting by ATS settings. Other things that we'll show as we'll go a little bit, I actually have a little teaser for you all to show you behind the scenes of statistics of just my organization's ATS, right? We'll bring that up right here. But at the end of the day, ATSs are not going to be stopped, right? They're just going to continue to improve. And as a job seeker, from the simplest part as tricking it with a great resume, we have to really focus on that. Now, let's go here. Let's switch. Perfect. So right here in the upper right, I'll just highlight it again. Now, this is through years of Office Boutique having applicants and roles, right? I think 25 years we hired 86 people, right? But look at the amount of people that have applied. Almost 42,000 people have applied. We went and looked at 5,000 of them. That is, first off, initially, you're getting rejected 17% of the time without even doing anything. Then you were getting rejected with additional filters. We only saw 14% of our candidates, right? Those numbers are probably very high because we don't put any settings on. But you have settings here, as I'll go, to require work authentication, right? What skills, as Camille was talking about, why, if you do have something that ties into job description or responsibility, we need it there because we need it to be seen not by that human, but first by that user. You could go so specific as GPA, right? Which is why, hey, if you don't have a high enough GPA, no worries, just don't put it on. But you're doing yourself a disservice if you're putting a GPA that unfortunately, even though it's probably great, that employer is putting very high because they of course have high standards. All this to say, there's tools to combat this, and we're going to go over a couple of those tools. But I'm actually going to take you back into the slides. Sorry for the little teaser here. Now we have no partnerships with any of these tools, right? The only one that you will hear from me is to talk about Vault and then reference all the other tools through sources exclusively through the university, right? Through Career Center websites, career readiness, libraries, all that fun stuff. But these are tools both from experience of using, working at some of the organizations too, but just knowing them from, in this space, mentioned in articles from organizations like NCDA that gives the certificates that Camille has to others like NACE, right? The first that you're going to spend some time in a little bit of going over is a tool called JobScan. But there's a lot of other sites out there, resume.co, not .io, right? There's a big difference. Zeti and just any Google search. They all have the same vision in mind, but it's about generating a resume through the help of assistance of tech and then scanning that resume based on job description. Helps you, right, tailor to identify where you could, give a little bit of improvement to your resume. Also, ones that unfortunately might not be good solution altogether. But then I'm going to go over some other tools that are not just tech related, but if you want that personal touch, right? Because granted, there's a lot of sources, and Camille will show these are all tools and workshops that Camille puts up, but Camille can't meet with thousands of people. She probably could, but we're not going to do that to her, right? And there's organizations that if you needed a little bit more assistance, right, there's out there. And then free things that you could just follow to stay abreast as quick as 5 minutes a day to make you a better candidate than the rest. Okay, so let's step out here. And the first I'm going to start is about where to gain access just to Vault, simple plug. Multiple locations. I love the university for doing this. First, if you just did a quick Google search, you'll find their career readiness for students and alumni. So many other tools here that I don't even want to start plugging at because we'll spend hours and hours, but great. There's ours. You see its reference as firsthand. That was a previous former name, right? We are Vault, and you'll notice that you get taken to Vault branding, right? We're also located within the Community Hub. The Community Hub, one of my favorites outside of ease of access to us is you'll see other upcoming events, right? Like, hey, are you interested in career media? You just learned how to write your resume. Go learn about, what it's like working in that field. This website is beautiful that we give the ability to look at by career interests, communities, right? All right, so maybe I'm interested in finance and data. A simple click will take you and show great predominance to Vault. I'll highlight here. Oh, look, there's a guidebook of ours on accounting, right? But so many other tools at your disposal. All right, now let's go and look at information that we'll look at. Here, as you'll see, is that we're here looking at a first website called Zeti. Zeti is much like every other resume creator out there, that they're here to guide you, as you see here down on the left. A lot of the topics that Camille was already talking about, right? Work experience, education, skills, that summary, right? Just helping you in order to format it within their template, which, wow, looks very similar, Camille. Maybe they're you should contact them. Being able to go step-by-step process, right? But we have that great template, so let's not spend a lot of time on the resume creation. But now that the resume created, we're going to shift over to JobScan. Now, JobScan, even though every site will give you a premium, JobScan's pretty cool, right? They said, hey, we were all job searchers, or people that needed assistance years ago. We're not going to put you out there. We're going to give you a couple free scans a month. Of course, it's not that expensive if you wanted to get the premium account, right? Here's mine. We're just going to go down to the core section, which is where you could upload or cut and paste your resume to the job description that you found. Now, I'm going to go over here. I'm going to pull up this resume document as well. I took Camille's suggestions and I filled out the information here to look at. Of course, this is not myself, right? This is Jane Doe here. Now, luckily, Jane Doe doesn't have a LinkedIn profile, so didn't even want to put anything up there or make one just to have. But you see some great information in all areas that what Camille was referencing. So let me just go ahead and take this right here. I'm going to copy it. Let's go back. And I'm going to put it here. Now, most popular is the drag and drop, right? But I don't want to crash the site. I have multiple screens here, so we're just going to do cut and paste. The reason I do that too is because you see here, you have to go ahead and cut and paste the job description. So actually, we're going to go back here. What I did is I actually found a job description, right? Sourced it through Indeed. It's for a company in the capital region, visiting nurse home care, right? Just because the template above you saw was around, similar experience. I'm going to take, and whenever you use JobScan or any sort of resume matching, as we'll see here, you don't have to include like things of how much is the compensation, right? You don't have to include like the perks and benefits, because that's not going to be on your resume. You want to take the job description as well as the responsibilities, right? Because the responsibilities are your bullet points of what you did in your work experience at school or whatever you have currently. Here it is, right? And now I'm going to do just a general scan. They have something that's called the Power Edit. It's pretty cool. It just helps even further, especially to save some time. But all this is doing right now is to present me with what's called a match rate. Now, I did nothing to this resume, right? I just created it. I didn't even tailor it yet to the job. I just found it. But, luckily, I already have a 38% match rather than a 0. This tool is pretty cool, and just like others as well, is that they're going to walk you through the process, right? Like we just saw. They're going to tell you what some of your biggest misses here, right? Like, uh-oh, you don't have a lot of hard skills or soft skills, right? They're even going to tell you things about what recruiters, because just like how Vault, we have great editors and career coaches on staff too. They have former recruiters and similar as well. We're all the same. They even make it simple as that if it's still a little confusing here, a step-by-step guided process. I won't open the thing there. But you're seeing immediately things that you should focus on, right? Like, okay, my formatting is great. Yes, because we use Camille's template, right? But things that didn't make is like the job match, right? Oh, because the title that I have didn't match that same title. Fine. Well, we could put that title or any responsibility somewhere within one of those bullet points. Help me get to that hard scale. They'll be able to then, as you'll update, whether the Power Edit lets you to do it in, or if you wanted to take it out and work on your Word doc, Google Doc, and then upload it, just to keep boosting, boosting, boosting. One of the best things is you'll see here, they're green. I believe starts at like Andrea, great minds think alike here. We got a question that came in. What's the desired match percentage? Right here, it's I think about like 70%. That's not technically like 75, because they know that that's not. You're never going to get 100%. Because guess what? Things like this, my ATS, we look for 100% because then it's like, wow, you're trying to cheat the system. When ATSs first came out, you know what people were doing? Here's your resume here, right? They were taking this section and they were just going ahead and hiding it, right? And just putting every single keyword just to make it match. Well, ATSs just go, all right, let's go scan. Nope, found it. You're rejected, and that's not good. Especially if they're using like a system like iSIMS, or we've all heard of Workday. You have your account on there get filtered and rejected. It makes it harder for other organizations that you use the same systems, right? That they talk to each other. All right, let's go back into job scan. So that's great. A match report, right? Upload, rescan, keep doing. But know that you do get a number of free scans, so don't, be efficient as you use that tool. Other tools, as we'll reference and we'll share the presentation as well. I referenced the career coaching, right? Camille can't do it all, and sometimes you want that tailored touch as well. A site that's in our industry as well called the Muse. Got some good jobs and company information too, but they also have a thing that's called coaching where it could help you with a guided stuck. And because it's not just about resume, right? Maybe you are changing careers later on. There could be still some great guidance here. I actually just went through the little process. You could filter, you could find people. These people are credible. I know Steven, right? Steven is my point of contact when he worked at, I believe it was like University of Phoenix for years before another institution that unfortunately wasn't a Vault subscriber, right? So that's great information. You're going to see when we send you to, I don't have it up. NCDA is an amazing tool for career development. Another one is NACE for recruiting information and things like Job Outlook, right? They just revised this in January. That was 6 days ago. It's going to tell you things about what to look for, right? More importantly, what employers are looking for, right? Oh, what industries are growth. So you can, as you now tailor these resumes or to the jobs that are out there going ahead and hiring. And I would be doing, of course, my organization a disservice, right? We reference where to go ahead and find. Well, when you click, it actually takes you to a landing page and you just got to authenticate. But when you're in, there's so much here. I just want to go to a section. If I clicked here on blogs, it's going to shout out here, right here, some information that are relevant. We have so many articles, whether they're videos or text-based, right, that talk about things like industry-specific resume. 10 essential soft skills resumes needed in 2025. Well, look, we knew that we don't have any. Maybe we should go ahead and read that article. Just so much that's at your disposal today. It could be overwhelming, but know that the tech is here to help you get seen and ultimately get eyes by that recruiter, because the recruiter is trying to find the right candidate. And they put these blockers in place, right? Just for the fact that they're trying to make it less time consuming on themselves that needs to find the person. You need to use the tools, and they're there, which is a really great component. All right, we're going to go back into, where am I here? There, we should have switched. Right, so NACE Vault, lower left hand of the screen, you see that URL, but we're going to provide you some synopsis of all these other organizations too. All right, so that was around 30 minutes of Camille and I talking. The whole point about these workshops, and we see that we have a lot that have already came in right now, Andrea, great about the desired match percentage. Take down our contact information, right? We're not just putting up there for an open gesture. We want you to reach out. That's why I gave you mine instead of the general email address, right? For the universities, we're here to support. We could guide you to other tools that here, but this is the best time to go ahead and start typing in any questions. Just to be fair to some of the individuals that did reach out beforehand. I just want to address their questions as they're very universal, so I think they would apply, and then we'll take from the crowd that typed in. But let's just quickly summarize, right? What you saw today is that yes, it starts with the basics. It starts with learning about the formatting, the keywords, the type of font and sizes and margins you're supposed to use. But then it really focuses on, okay, now that we understand that, and we're going to use that to battle. Great, Times New Roman, it's my favorite. Exactly. One of the questions that we actually got was a type of formats and right to use. But you want to be able to use additional tools to beat these ATSs. They're not going anywhere. They're going to get even more stricter. I think, especially as we get more advancements, because at the end of the day, it's going to just get you to the most important size. It was a font, excuse me, and that's going ahead and meeting with that individual through virtual, through Zoom, get you to the next stage within this unfortunately hectic process that we all go through. Makes us better for it, right? Makes us better prepared for that next opportunity. Because that organization NACE that I pulled up, that we looked at some of the reports and others, NCDA, even the government business outlook, right? People don't stay at jobs for the 20 plus years and retire and get the gold watch like my family and my elders have, right? We're changing jobs because the environment is changing around us. All right, so yeah, so the first question, and it's good. We've got a question about fonts, right? It's yes, you want to use the standards, right? I always like to say the presets is there for a reason. And then size rise, right? You don't want to make it 16, 18, 20, right? In order to build out the page. Don't worry for that. Keep it as consistent as you can. All right, so other things that came up, a couple questions was color in resumes. Don't ever put any other color, right? Just if something is hyperlinked, it will make it that blue, as you can see here on ours. Keep it that way. We had a question that talks about putting like work achievements, like reached. Someone said 80% of my sales goal in experience section. Camille pointed to it. That's 100% yes, right? We want that number because that person is looking for quantifiable information that you were able to achieve what most likely they have the same KPI for.
Remember,
Good question.
show, don't
I'm
tell.
sorry.
Show, don't tell.
Show don't tell. Yes, exactly. A great one is what format should I use my resume in? Right. That's amazing because a Word, right? People always get scared of, well, then someone can manipulate. Someone can manipulate a PDF as well. So don't worry. Word, PDF, right? We do hear from time to time when you go ahead and use like you download it from a Google Doc, right? That sometimes, depending on the ATS, they're unfriendly. So just keep a lookout for that. But I always like to do, if they ever give you also the option to like cut and paste, also do that as well because it sometimes bypasses the attachment. Keep on typing the question in, and we're going to start from the beginning. I just have a couple more. Just I want to be courteous of those that watching the recording. Okay, so this cover letter necessary, and maybe one I saw a question as well. Depends on who you ask. I think we live in a world where people get it's hey, it's you're asking me to tailor my resume. Now you want me to write a cover letter too to people really read them. From someone who has hired roles before, one thing that when I end the week look at the ATS, right, and say, oh, wait, that one had a cover letter attachment, probably reading that one first, right? Because why? Because everyone else tends not to do it today. But really pick and choose depending on, your preference there. And then, do you recommend using ChatGPT for resume writing? Think about it. ChatGPT is just AI. Everyone has the same AI, right? They're all using the same technology, right? I think ChatGPT to stick to what should I cook for dinner or tell me some history because unless you're an expert, even Camille and I, we don't know how to use it. That's why we talk about these other tools that are built to bypass that burden there.
You want to make it your own, and ChatGPT can strip you of that. And so you want to be sure that it's your voice. If you need to use it maybe to set you up, to kind of help you get started with a cover letter, you can certainly do that, but be sure to make it your own and specific to the job description.
Yeah.
And
I
Frank,
think
I went
sometimes,
in
yeah, I
and,
think
and
sometimes people
answered some of
forget
the
with
questions.
ChatGPT is that you and I could be typing the same, hey, how do I answer this question? And we're getting the same response, right? So then we're both submitting and that these ATSs are catching that. Okay. So we saw an earlier question during the presentation. I just want to reference back to it, even though it says it's about referencing upon recess. You said not to include it in the resume, right? No need, because if they want to move forward, they're going to ask for your references, right? So yes, eventually references will be available. So no need to include that and waste your space on a resume. I see that it was answered in the chat, so I apologize. We talked about the
I
desired
hadn't
match.
answered all of these, so I don't want you to duplicate any work, Frank.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. Oh, Camille, thank you. I was like quickly too getting the answers out there. Um, other things that these tools, because everyone offers everything today, right? We like to focus on value of like everyone was created for something and then they expand, right? Like Thomas's English muffins makes bagels, if you know what I mean. We Vault in its core is career exploration and prep, right? There's so many other these tools, but there are tools to help you with first initial LinkedIn creation before then speaking with a Camille, before speaking with someone else as well, right? So definitely take. And the last thing I'll leave everyone with is that eventually, right, especially if this is an in-person event, an in-person role, you're going to meet these people. So we didn't put it in the slides, but sometimes not overlooked is like nice card stock, right? Go to Staples, go to whatever stores that are still out there that sell the printer ink. The perception is that, wow, you really are putting care into this. It's not just the same paper that you use for your directions or a recipe, right? I think we did a good job. Everyone has been giving thumbs up. We should be the ones thanking you all because, without you here, without spreading the importance of everyone just realizing it's tough, it's getting tougher out there, but you got the tools, you got the people, the support from the university to help you succeed.
Yes, and I think that we have a really good question that probably applies to everybody. So I'm going in the Q&A, I'm going to go ahead and read it and answer it. It's receiving a degree in April. Congratulations, moving to a new career. What advice do you have for communicating skills from current career to new career? We call those transferable skills. So if you were utilizing, communication and time management and leadership and critical thinking, those are all transferable skills, meaning that you will probably need to use those in your new occupation. So think about that along with that job description that you're going to be applying towards, and put those skills to use as you start to create a resume towards that particular job description for that new role and that new career. I hope that helps.
That's congrats also on on the new move, and yeah, there's things that every employer is looking for today, no matter what the role.
And then we have a question about what are your thoughts regarding the use of a resume service company? Well, here's the thing. If you are a student here at Excelsior, you have a person right here. I'm more than happy to help you with your resume. And I think it's part of your education, and I'm happy to work with you. So please reach out to me, and I'm happy to take a look at your resume and work with you on that. And we have another question. What if you're 59 and want to have only a part-time job, but not in the field credentials that you have? I would say that part-time jobs may or may not necessarily need a resume. So that might be something that you'd want to look into if you're looking at particular part-time jobs, see what the requirements are for applying. But again, there's those transferable skills that you can use to help you to gain that type of a position. I think it just depends. And again, you could reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help you. I'm going to read another one. I retired from the Navy, 24 years. Thank you for your service, David. In 2013, now I work for the government. How would I condense all that experience into 1 to 2 pages? So I believe earlier in the chat, I talked about, in addition to the ATS resume that Frank talked about and provided information on, there's many different types of resumes that you can use. So the traditional one is what we shared, but there's other resumes called functional resumes or combination resumes that can be used for a particular situation like that to help you to display your experience appropriately and take into consideration all of those years while not necessarily putting it on page after page after page. So if you'd like to reach out to me, I can send you some samples of that to help you get started. And then will there be a class over a federal resume and a civilian resume? I think you mean a webinar. So my hope is that I will work with others to, and Frank again, I hope to continue to do webinars like this to provide information on different types of resumes like you're mentioning for different fields, because that's a really good point that there are different types of resumes for different fields. So thank you for bringing that up, Alonzo. And I think that I answered all of the questions in the Q&A.
I'm glad you found the Q&A. We stayed within the chat, the beauty of the Zoom Q&A here.
Yes, yes. And it looks like I'm just making sure we didn't miss anything in the chat, Frank. Am I missing anything?
I don't, but we will send a presentation. If it didn't come through, it might have. I think it did. The template as well, right? Website where your vault could be found, and other than the lower corner as you saw previously. And then please just always reach out to us. But thank you all, and Camille, thanks for letting me crash the party here.
Oh my gosh, this has been great. Thank you so much, Frank. It's great to collaborate with you to benefit the students, and happy to provide all of this information. It's really worthwhile, and I look forward to working with you and with the students, so don't hesitate to reach out.
Take care, everyone. Good luck. See you soon.